In the summer of 1750, in a merchant's house tucked behind the Nihonbashi fish market, a 12-year-old apprentice tended a vegetable garden smaller than a modern American bathroom, 3 1/3 square meters, 4 tatami mats of open sky above a stone-paved courtyard. In that space, he grew shiso, miyoga, ginger, a summer eggplant, and enough komatsuna to carry the household through late autumn. A modern Western homeowner with a 10,000 square foot lot, almost all of it lawn, produces essentially nothing edible. Edo, Tokyo had already passed 1 million residents, larger than Paris or London, and yet it fed itself. Number 17 is the seed the Japanese farmer stopped buying. Number 3 is the man who outproduced Japan's most advanced industrial farms without plowing, without fertilizer, without weeding. These are 25 forgotten Japanese gardening tricks that seniors used to grow food anywhere. Number 25. The Nagaya Alley Pot Row. In the back streets of Edo, Tokyo, the poorest laborers lived in wooden row houses called Nagaya, single-story tenements divided into shoebox rooms around a shared well. There was no yard, and yet the eaves of nearly every documented Edo Nagaya alley were lined with clay pots of shiso, radish greens, miyoga ginger, and small climbing vines trained up bamboo skewers stuck into the pot rims. A single unglazed clay pot cost roughly 3 mon in mid-Edo, Tokyo, about 75 cents today, and the seeds were saved from last year's plant, so the pot paid for itself the first summer. The technique was not the pot. The technique was choosing plants that thrive in shallow soil with a few hours of sun and knowing which seeds to save. You could replicate the alley row this weekend with 3 pots on any windowsill. Number 24. The Tsuboniwa Courtyard Garden. Merchant houses in Kyoto and Edo were built long and narrow, one shop front wide and running deep into the block. In the middle of the house, families cut an open courtyard exactly 2 tsubo across, about 3 1/3 square meters. This was the Tsuboniwa, light well, ventilation shaft, rainwater collection point, and kitchen garden. A merchant family in Nihonbashi in 1750 grew daily herbs, 1 summer eggplant, a shiso patch, and a small trellis of yugo gourd on that 1 4-mat courtyard, harvested twice a day by the kitchen mother. A modern Manhattan apartment with the same interior footprint produces 0 food. Fewer than 100 fully working merchant machiya remain in Kyoto today. Japan built the house around the garden. The West built the house around the parking spot. Number 23. Yasobe Izawa's Minama Dai Yosui, irrigation reclamation of 1722. The 8th shogun Tokugawa Yoshimune faced a food supply crisis in the Kanto Plain and invited an engineer from Kishu Domain to solve it. Between 1722 and 1731, Izawa demolished a giant reservoir levee near the Minama wetland, cut 2 irrigation canals running north to south from the Tone River, and connected them with the Minama Tsusenbori Canal, fitted with a 2-lock water lift. The project converted a mosquito-infested wetland into rice paddies that supported several 100,000 additional families. Yoshimune, in effect, spent the equivalent of a large domain's annual tax revenue, roughly 40,000 ryo, to feed peasants who never knew his name. A comparable modern project would still be an environmental review. Number 22. The Slow Food Japan Ark of Taste, established in 2005. 9 Japanese heritage products were placed on the Ark that year as endangered heirlooms. 2 were local turnips, Hanazukuri daikon, and Akaji daikon, grown for household consumption in specific villages by fewer than a dozen aging farmers each. Others included yukina from the Yonezawa Basin, the amarume Welsh onion, hachiretsu corn, and unzen kobu takana. Everyone was already producing less than a truckload per year. The Japanese Ark has since grown to more than 130 entries. Japan cataloged the vegetable before it disappeared. The West invented the frozen bag of mixed vegetables and forgot to look at what was in it. Number 21. The Sata Physic Garden of Kagoshima. In Minami-Osumi, at the southernmost tip of Kyushu, on a plot the Shimazu clan set aside in the early Edo period. A medicinal herb garden called Satakyu Yakuin has been in continuous operation since the 17th century, designated a National Historic Site of Japan in 1932. Sata grew ginseng, licorice root, angelica, ephedra, safflower, and roughly 40 other herbs that formed the domestic Kanpo pharmacopoeia. A single ryo in Edo bought a year's supply of medicinal roots for a family. The Edo period gardener knew the plant. The modern pharmacy customer knows the box. One knowledge cost 7 years to accumulate and traveled inside a family. The other requires a state-issued license. Number 20, the Nerima daikon. In the volcanic ash of the Kanto loam layer around present-day Nerima Ward, Tokyo, a specific white radish was developed under the 5th shogun, Tokugawa Tsunayoshi, from seeds ordered from Owari province around 1700. Nerima daikon grew up to 1 meter long, a full 3 feet, dense and pungent, and made the finest takuan pickles in Edo. A single Nerima daikon sold for roughly 10 mon in the 1750 Edo market, about $2.50 today. Farm Watado in Hiwadai, Nerima Ward, is one of the last commercial farms still growing it. In 1900, there were more than 400 Edo-Tokyo vegetable farms in the metro area. Today, the number is well under 100, and the average grower is past 65. Kanto loam is not portable. Number 19, the red turnips of Kiso. Deep in the Kiso mountain range of Nagano Prefecture, where the valley bottoms are too narrow for rice, roughly a dozen villages have grown red-skinned turnips for household consumption since the medieval period. The earliest were grown on slash-and-burn plots on mountain slopes, using ash from burned brush as fertilizer. There are about 80 distinct turnip varieties native to Japan, a level of diversity you do not see in China or Europe. Most Kiso red turnips never reached a market. They were pickled and eaten by the family that grew them. In the last decade, local women have organized to grow and sell the turnips before both the vegetable and the village disappear together. In 1960, Japan had roughly 4,000 distinct, locally cultivated vegetable varieties. Today, fewer than 300 are still commercially grown. Number 18, Matsutake Pine Forest Management. Fungus gardening, not vegetable gardening. And the technique is landscape management on the scale of a hillside. The Matsutake mushroom grows only in symbiosis with the roots of the Japanese red pine in soil kept deliberately poor. For centuries, mountain villages managed their pine forests by continuously harvesting understory brush and fallen leaves for cooking fuel, which kept the soil impoverished in exactly the way the Matsutake needed. When Japanese households switched from charcoal to natural gas in the post-war period, the understory was no longer cleared. Production dropped to less than 10% of pre-war levels by the early 1980s, according to Kawai and Ogawa's 1981 mushroom census. A single premium Matsutake in Tokyo today sells for 30,000 yen, close to $200. 100 years ago, the same mushroom cost a mountain family a bundle of firewood. Number 17 is the seed the Japanese farmer stopped buying. 60 years ago, every farming household saved seed from the best plants in their own field. Today, the majority buy fresh seed every planting season from 4 multinational companies. 2 of those companies did not exist a generation ago. The saved seed technique took 30 seconds and a paper envelope. Number 17, the Noguchi Isao heirloom seed operation in Saitama. Noguchi Seeds in Saitama Prefecture is one of only 2 major organizations in Japan still offering the full range of traditional heirloom vegetable seeds. Noguchi Isao's grandfather was a celebrated Edo yasai grower who saved seed from every variety he ever planted. Isao continues the family practice, offering seeds for Edo daikon, Nerima daikon, Yanaka ginger, Kyoto mizuna, and roughly 100 other varieties most Japanese consumers have never eaten. F1 hybrid seeds, which now dominate the market, do not breed true, meaning the farmer who saves seed from an F1 plant gets random offspring the next year. This locks the farmer into buying new seed every season. Saitama kept the seed the farmer saved. The West patented the seed the farmer could not. Number 16. Shiso. Perilla frutescens is a mint family herb brought to Japan from China around the 8th century for its medicinal properties. Every kitchen garden in Edo, Tokyo grew shiso, both the green uba variety, used as a garnish for sashimi, and the red variety, used to color pickled plums. Shiso will grow in poor soil, tolerates partial shade, thrives in a windowsill pot, self-seeds if you let one plant flower in autumn, and requires almost no water once established. A single plant produces enough leaves to season a household's meals for the growing season. In modern Tokyo, a small bunch of 5 shiso leaves costs about 150 yen, roughly $1. A packet of seeds costs about the same and yields 10 to 15 plants. You could replicate this in your kitchen this weekend with 2 ingredients, water and a windowsill pot. Number 15. Kyoto Mizuna, sometimes called Kiona, which literally means Kyoto greens. Mizuna has been grown in the wet basins around Kyoto since the Heian period, more than 1,000 years. The name Mizuna literally means water greens, and it refers to the traditional cultivation method. Kyoto farmers grew Mizuna in shallow flooded fields alongside their rice paddies, using the same running mountain water that irrigated the rice, keeping plants at a constant cool temperature and clean of pests. The plants matured in as little as 40 days and tolerated multiple cuttings, so a single planting fed the household 4 or 5 times. In modern Kyoto, a bundle sells for about 200 yen, $1.30. Kyoto engineered a leafy green that grows in the runoff from the rice field. Californian agriculture developed a mixed salad that has to be washed twice before it is safe to eat. Number 14 is a vegetable that vanished, not endangered, gone, until 3 growers in a Tokyo ward brought it back from a handful of remaining plants using the technique the shogun's neighbors had used 400 years earlier. The last major cultivator is in his 70s. Number 14, the Terashima Nasu. Terashima is the historical name for a district of present-day Sumida Ward, and the eggplant grown there in the Edo period was a compact egg-shaped variety with dense flesh, prized for tempura and dengaku. Terashima Nasu had almost completely disappeared by the mid-20th century and would have vanished entirely if a small group of Sumida Ward volunteers had not tracked down remaining seed stock in the early 2000s. Today, restaurants including Sarashina Horii and a handful of Sumida chefs feature Terashima Nasu seasonally. Fewer than 20 commercial farms grow it. The technique is careful pruning to concentrate the plant's energy into fewer, smaller, denser fruit. In modern Tokyo, a pair of Terashima Nasu sells for 800 yen, roughly $5. Japan preserved the small eggplant that took twice as long to grow. The West selected for the giant eggplant that could be sliced by machine. Number 13, the Senju Negi. In present-day Adachi Ward, north of central Tokyo, a specific thick winter leek called Senju Negi has been grown since the Edo period. It is distinctive for its blanched white stem, achieved by continuously heaping soil around the growing plant to keep sunlight off the lower stalk, a technique called dohi. This produces a longer, wider, sweeter shaft. Yoshinori Horii, 9th generation head of the Sarashina Horii soba restaurant, uses Senju Negi as an essential ingredient. Sarashina Horii has served it in continuous operation from a founding stretching back to 1789. A single Senju Negi in modern Tokyo costs about 400 yen, $3. In 1900, there were roughly 200 Senju Negi farms in Adachi Ward, today fewer than 15, and the average grower is past 70. Number 12, the Yanaka ginger. Along the northeastern edge of central Tokyo, in what is now Bunkyo Ward, Edo households grew a leaf ginger variety called Yanaka ginger. harvested young and eaten raw with white miso paste on hot summer afternoons. It has a soft root, no stringy fiber, a fresh, spicy aroma, and a crisp texture that modern supermarket ginger has entirely lost. In 1850 Edo, a small bundle cost about 3 mon to less than $1 today. In modern Tokyo, an authentic bundle costs roughly 1,000 yen, $7, when you can find it at all. The technique is planting in loose sandy loam with consistent shade and harvesting young. What made it disappear was not difficulty, it was economics. Yanaka ginger cannot be shipped without losing its freshness. Modern distribution requires ginger that survives a week in a refrigerated truck. Number 11. Bokashi anaerobic composting. Bokashi is a Japanese word meaning fermented organic matter, the anaerobic cousin of Western aerobic composting. Instead of piling food scraps in an open bin, the Bokashi practitioner layers kitchen scraps in a sealed bucket, sprinkles each layer with a bran inoculated with beneficial microbes, including lactic acid bacteria, yeasts, and phototrophic bacteria, and closes the lid tight. In 2 weeks, the scraps are pickled, ready to bury in soil, where earthworms finish the process in another 2 to 4 weeks. Professor Teruo Higa at the University of the Ryukyus in Okinawa developed the modern Effective Microorganisms Formula, EM1, in the 1970s. A Bokashi bucket setup costs about $50 and processes household scraps for years. Almost any kitchen scrap works, including meat, dairy, and oily foods traditional compost cannot handle. Okinawa took the sealed jar and turned it into soil. The West bought the garbage disposal. Number 10. Kunta rice husk charcoal. Miyazaki Yasusada, the 17th century agronomist we will meet in number 8, was already recommending in his 1697 encyclopedia that farmers mix nutrient-rich manures with carbonized organic waste. The specific material he recommended was kunta, rice husk charcoal, made by pyrolyzing the husks left over after rice threshing. Kunta is a porous carbon material with extremely high water and air retention capacity and mild alkalinity, which stimulates root growth and encourages the soil microbes that fix nitrogen for legumes. Japanese charcoal production peaked at 2.7 million tons per year in 1947 before households switched to natural gas, at which point traditional production collapsed. A modern Western gardener discovering biochar in a permaculture book is discovering, without knowing it, a technique a Kyushu farmer documented in a printed encyclopedia in 1697. Miyazaki was 3 centuries ahead. The West only caught up in 2010. Number 9 is the sanitation system. So unlike anything the West built that Western scholars for 2 centuries refused to believe the accounts. Every household in Edo, Tokyo produced a fertilizer worth roughly 1 week of rice per person. Farmers competed for it. The shogunate wrote laws to prevent price gouging. Number 9, Shimogoe, the Edo urban-rural night soil circular fertilizer economy. In Edo, Osaka, and Kyoto, human waste was not a nuisance to be disposed of. It was fertilizer. Farmers from peri-urban villages rode into town on horse carts fitted with wooden koe-oke buckets and negotiated with landlords for the right to collect the previous week's waste. In late Edo, Tokyo, Shimogoe from a wealthy neighborhood was priced 2 to 3 times higher than Shimogoe from a poor one because rich households ate a better diet and produced richer fertilizer. Kajo Tajima's 2005 Tufts University PhD thesis documented the economy in exhaustive detail using surviving Edo contracts. The Waste and Cleaning Act was not revised to make municipal governments responsible for waste collection until 1930. Edo turned the outhouse into a vegetable field. The West built the flush toilet and imported potash from Chile. Number 8. Miyazaki Yasusada's Nogyo Zensho of 1697. Miyazaki was born in 1623, entered the service of the Fukuoka domain at 24 with a stipend of 200 koku of rice, and then past 30, resigned his samurai post to become a farmer in the village of Mubara. Over the next 40 years, he traveled the inland sea, Kansai and Ise and Shima peninsulas, interviewing elderly farmers. In 1697, he published the Nogyo Zensho, the complete book of agriculture, in 10 volumes. It covered 19 grain crops, 57 vegetables, and 22 medicinal herbs with instructions on planting, tilling soils, fertilizers, irrigation, and pest control. Nogyo Zensho was reprinted continuously from 1786 and served as the standard Japanese agricultural manual for 2 centuries. It was written by one man on the strength of 40 years of interviews. The nearest Western equivalent would not appear for another century, funded by a monarchy. Number 7, the Kyoto Horikawa Gobo and the 2-year burdock cultivation method. Toyotomi Hideyoshi built a government residence called Jurakudai in central Kyoto in 1587. In 1595, the compound was demolished and its moat became a neighborhood garbage dump. Burdock leftovers thrown into the moat sprouted the next year and, growing in the nutrient-rich mud, produced roots of unimaginable size. Neighboring farmers began cultivating this variety on purpose, developing a technique called year-crossing burdock, or nen o kosu gobo. The farmer plants in the first spring, lets it grow through summer, then in the second spring digs it up and replants at a 15-degree angle to force the root to twist and thicken. The finished Horikawa Gobo reaches 9 centimeters in diameter, 80 centimeters long, 1 kilogram, with a hollow center chef stuff with minced meat. In modern Kyoto, one sells for 2,000 to 3,000 yen, roughly $15 to $20. Horikawa Gobo is officially classified as a phantom Kyoto vegetable. Number 6, the Shizuoka Wasabi Tatamishi terraced cultivation. Wasabi was wild in Japanese mountain streams for 1,000 years before farmers in the Utogi district of Shizuoka City began cultivating it deliberately around 1600. In 1744, Kanshiro Itagaki carried the harvesting knowledge to the Izu Peninsula. In 1892, a stonemason in Nakaizu developed a terraced field construction called the Tatami-ishi style, a foundation dug deep into a mountain slope, then a layer of large stones, then pebbles, then fine sand. Cold spring water is directed across the field from top to bottom, filtering through the layers, supplying constant nutrients and oxygen. The Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations designated Shizuoka traditional wasabi cultivation as a globally important agricultural heritage system in March 2018. Shizuoka today accounts for about 40% of national production, worth 3 billion yen a year. The successor problem is acute. When the farmers retire, the stones stay, but the water stops running. Number 5, Beni Imo, the Okinawan purple sweet potato. Sweet potatoes reached the Ryukyu Islands around 1600 from Ming China by way of the Philippines. The Ryukyus were subtropical, battered by seasonal typhoons that flattened rice crops, and the sweet potato thrived in poor volcanic soil and survived the storms that killed everything else. By the 1700s, Beni Imo, the purple-fleshed variety, became the staple of the Okinawan diet, supplying between 60 and 70% of daily calories through the entire pre-war period. Beni Imo grows from vine cuttings, requires little water, tolerates poor soil, and stores for months underground. The leaves, called kandaba, are also edible. Modern Beni Imo at Naha's Makishi Market sells for 400 yen a kilogram, $3. In the 1940s, the same tuber cost less than a fifth of a day's wages. What made Beni Imo the staple of the longest-lived population on Earth was the discipline to eat it 3 meals a day for a century. Number 4, Aoki Konyo's Koishikawa Satsumamo cultivation trial of 1735. The Kyoho famine of 1732 to 1733 killed an estimated 20% of the population in some regions of western Japan. Aoki Konyo, born in 1698 in Nihonbashi as the son of a fishmonger, was by then a Confucian scholar and pioneer of Rangaku, Western learning through Dutch translations. He noticed that Omishima in the Sato Inland Sea had escaped the famine because the islanders planted the Satsuma sweet potato. In 1735, Aoki submitted a treatise called Banshoko, Thoughts on the Barbarian Yams, to Shogun Tokugawa Yoshimune. Yoshimune ordered him to conduct trial cultivation at the Koishikawa Botanical Garden. Aoki started with 17 sweet potatoes. On the second attempt, he harvested roughly 500 liters of tubers. The harvest was distributed as seed throughout Japan. Aoki became known as Kansho Sensei, Professor Sweet Potato, one scholar, 17 seed potatoes, a country fed. Number 3 is the Japanese farmer who outproduced Japan's most advanced industrial farms without plowing, without fertilizer, without weeding. His book sold more than 1 million copies in 20 languages. His name was Masanobu Fukuoka, and he died in 2008 at 95 on the same Shikoku hillside where he had farmed for 60 years. Number 3, Fukuoka Masanobu's do-nothing rice and barley relay farming. Fukuoka was born in 1913 in Ehime Prefecture, trained as a plant pathologist, worked at the Yokohama Customs Office. He returned to his family farm and over 4 decades developed a rice and barley system with no plowing, no tilling, no chemical fertilizer, no herbicide, almost no weeding. He broadcast rice seed into standing barley in fall, harvested the barley in early summer with rice already sprouting through the stubble, scattered the barley straw back as mulch. Come autumn, he broadcast barley seed into the standing rice. To defeat birds and insects, he coated the seeds in clay pellets, a technique documented in his 1975 book, The One Straw Revolution. He kept white clover as permanent ground cover to fix nitrogen. By the late 1970s, his yields matched Japan's most advanced industrial rice farms on land that had never been plowed. Yoshikazu Kawaguchi founded the Akame Natural Farm School Network, 40 locations, 900 concurrent students. Shikoku kept the rice that grew itself. American agriculture built a subsidy program that costs the Treasury $20 billion a year. Number 2, the Shiroyone Senmaida terraced rice paddies of Wajima City. On a steep coastal slope facing the Sea of Japan in Ishikawa Prefecture, 1,004 small rice paddies are cut into the hillside like a staircase running down to the water. Most are around 20 square meters. Many are just 1 square meter. The smallest is 50 centimeters square, enough space to plant exactly 2 rice stalks. Because the paddies are so small and unreachable by machine, almost every step is done by hand. The technique dates to the early Edo period, when the Kaga domain assigned Shiroyone land for rice and salt production. Shiroyone Senmaida was designated a national cultural property in 2001, and in June 2011, the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization inscribed it as part of Noto's Satoyama and Satumi landscape, Japan's first globally important agricultural heritage system designation. The Preservation Council established a terrace field owner system in which urban residents from Tokyo, Osaka, and Nagoya pay an annual fee of 30,000 yen, about $200, to lend their labor to a specific paddy for a season. Without the owner system, the fields would already have gone fallow. Wajima kept the 50-centimeter paddy that fed one family. American agriculture kept the 10,000-acre monoculture and shipped the surplus overseas. Number 1, the OGMI Longevity Vegetable Garden and Emiko Kinjo's restaurant, Amy no Mise, on the northwestern coast of Okinawa in a village of roughly 3,000 called Ogimi. More centenarians per capita live and garden than in any comparable community on Earth. Emiko Kinjo, a former nutritionist, opened Emi no Mise to preserve and serve the traditional Okinawan vegetables that most of the modern island no longer grows. Every morning, 99-year-old Mr. Tamaki and 96-year-old Mrs. Taira walk from their houses to their vegetable gardens to plant, weed, and harvest by hand. The Ogimi diet centers on beni imo, Goya bitter melon, green papaya, kandaba sweet potato leaves, tofu, seaweed, and a small green citrus called shikawasa that grows on the hillsides. Bradley and Craig Wilcox of the Kwakini Medical Center in Honolulu, continuing the Honolulu Heart Program that began tracking Japanese-American men in the 1960s, documented that traditional Okinawan diets historically average 60 to 70% of calories from sweet potato and vegetables, with near lowest animal protein consumption of any long-lived population studied, and produced the highest verified centenarian rate ever recorded, roughly 6 times the United States national average at peak. In Ogimi, on any morning of any week, an old woman is walking to a plot of soil that has fed her family for 6 generations with a hoe in her hand to grow her own lunch. Japan produced roughly 99,000 centenarians. In 2024, more per capita than any nation on Earth. Ogimi produced them at 6 times that rate. The habits in this list are not coincidence. They are method, and most of the methods do not require a farm. They require a windowsill, a bucket, a paper envelope of saved seed, and the willingness to keep doing the same small thing every day for 100 years. Pick one, just one. Plant a shiso in a pot on your kitchen sill from number 16. Start a bokashi bucket from number 11. Order a packet of Nerima daikon seeds from Noguchi Seeds in Saitama from number 17. And save the seed from what you grow. Japan learned to grow food in a 3 1/3 square meter courtyard on a 50-centimeter shelf carved from a volcanic cliff, in the alley behind a rented tenement, and in the bed of a mountain stream. The West learned to fly the food in from Chile, one culture, produced people who plant their own daikon at 99. The other produced a grocery aisle nobody quite trusts.